Thank you, Lord Mayor. My name is Aziz Daji. I'm the chair of Warwick Road Area Action Group. I represent residents in my area, over 1,000, 2,000 people that reside there. The residents are very, very angry, very upset at the council. For years, they have neglected our area. I've been emailing Councillor Mather there and Councillor Pandor, 4, 5, 6 long emails, and they just choose to ignore. I've asked them to come to our area to visit, to see for yourselves the state of the road. They won't bother to respond. It's led to me making a formal complaint against the councillor, and I hope that that will be taken forward in a proper manner. The issue is that if you visited the Warwick Road Batley-Car area, you would see that the state of the roads are very, very poor. Some of them are damaging cars, and some of them are actually causing danger to the residents when they're walking across as well. So to prove my point, I actually, with the help of my local councillors, arranged a meeting with an officer to walk around the area. Having done that, that produced 20 action points that are all very, very valid, and I've got a copy here. Even then, that copy has gone to the councillor there, no response. Is this how councillors are going to behave? Where is the accountability, right? This is not good enough. The councillors are there to serve the community, and you should be doing your job, not making excuses all the time. The Labour leadership, I think, is failing the community. And I really think you councillors should speak up as well and make sure the councillors are accountable and doing their job. They're not. The residents, if you ask them, they're very, very fed up of the councillors, who they think don't even bother to respond to emails, don't even bother to respond and actually do their job. What kind of council are you running here then? If you're not representing the people, not serving them, why should I pay my council tax to you then? So really, I want to see action from the councillor there on those 20 action points. I want to know what you're going to do, when you're going to do it. And if you care to come to my area, I'll show you the state of the road. She says it's adequate. I don't even think the officer who saw the road for herself thought it was adequate. Yeah, they're a danger. And then the council wastes money outside my house by doing one little patch-up, leaving 3. Is that value for money? Is that what the council does? Does one little patch, leaves the rest? Come on, you councillors, you've got to hold these people to account. So really what I'm saying is, I need councillors to respond in a proper manner, to respond when you ask a question, and don't accuse people of doing things that they're not doing. So I really think I want some response from the councillor today, and also I want to know what's going to happen with the action points in my area. If not, I'll be here again next month with 1,000 people, residents. They'll all come here with me. Yeah, this is just not good enough. Lastly, I've made a formal complaint against the councillor. I don't know if any of you have bothered to look at the process as outlined.
Councillor, sorry.
It's absolutely ridiculous.
Sir.
Gee.
Can you stick to that original topic you were on?
Yeah, it's linked. It's linked.
Well,
so second bit of that, the second bit of that, first is the roads issue. The second bit is the process for complaining against councillors is just like the one like the MPs have. Doesn't work. Yeah, and it doesn't encourage people to complain. So I'm asking for a review of the council complaints process, and I'd like to be part of that. You need to carry an independent process, because it doesn't work. And if I had time, I can actually explain my own experience of that as well, which is absolutely ridiculous, the way it's been dealt with by the council. Yeah, it is a topic. It's all linked. So I'm dissatisfied with the councillors not doing their job right, so I complain. How is that not linked? Where's the common sense? So basically, we really want to see councillors more held to account, doing their job, and doing their job well. Yeah, not just taking the salary that you're getting
30
paid.
seconds.
Okay, so I would like to see action points today and follow up on that. I would like to see some visits of the councillors instead of sitting in the town halls, and I'd like to see a review of the complaints process. It's a very valid point. If you care to look at the complaints process, you'll know what I mean against the councillors. It doesn't work. It doesn't encourage people to complain. So why do you have it then?
Thank you, sir. Can I invite Councillor Mather to respond?
Thank you, Mr. Daji. for, is it a petition or a deputation?
Deputation.
Okay.
It was
Thank
clear.
you. You know very well I have provided you with a lot of information regarding Warwick Road. I have outlined the reasons and how the whole thing works. You know that councils up and down the country have suffered from Tory cuts to
Rubbish.
259 million pound cuts up and down the country, and that includes Kirklees. We in Kirklees have a backlog of 165 million pounds worth of unclassified roads that need that kind of attention. We are beginning to invest in our roads. A programme of 15 million was unveiled last year, and guess where we started? In your ward. And we took your priorities
No, you didn't.
and worked with those. You have
a habit of lying.
Mr. Daji, Mr. Daji, Mr. Daji, we listened to you.
Local councillors at the heart
Councillor
of
Mather,
decision making.
Councillor Mather, just a minute. Stop just a minute. Councillor, Mr. Daji, we listened to you for the 5 minutes. Now we've got to listen to Councillor Mather without interrupting her, please. Thank you.
So the works were carried out, and as far as I'm concerned, there is only one outstanding road for that programme to be completed. Like you, I too am very passionate about the roads. The condition of highways is very close to my heart, and I wish I had a magic money tree I could shake and get all of the roads across our district maintained to a high standard. And thank you for coming today and letting me know about your deputation. Oh, by the way, I forgot to say, I have been to your ward, but I didn't invite you. I did go down and I have spoken to the councillors.
You should have invited
We have
me.
very close contacts with our councillors, and you need to be able to work with your councillors. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. If you can return to the seat, sir. You can come back another day. So we've no more deputations, I don't think. No, but we did have one petition involved in that, so I shall read in accordance with Council Procedure Rule 9(3), I direct that subject matter of the petition be referred to the appropriate service director for investigation. Item 7 then, public question time. Can I invite David Heathcote to come forward, please, and ask your question.
Active travel is it's vital that we get this right. It's important for our health, the environment, and our economy. So my question to the Cabinet is, who was consulted on the proposal to develop the active travel route that will convert Occupation Road in Lindley?
Hasan, Badat, welcome to the Council. Please, can you ask your question? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, Madam Chief Executive, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for the opportunity to ask this question. At the full council meeting way back in December 2018, there was an agenda item called something like Justice and Equality. And as a result of that, the following full council meeting, January 2019, I myself attended and did a deputation, a bit like the deputations earlier, and I talked about institutional racism and how it affected or how it shouldn't affect the Kirklees Council and its inhabitants. Obviously, time has gone on. Now, I asked for lots of things to happen at that time, and I didn't really have any comeback from anyone, not that I can recall, in terms of being invited to some kind of a committee or a working group or something. But what I have witnessed and observed markedly is the continuation of institutional racism. It's been rife. Now, I don't think any of you could fail to have witnessed what's happened recently, just down the road, as it were, at Headingley and the wider county in terms of Yorkshire county.
Mr. Hasan, can I ask a question, please?
Am I not allowed to build up to why the question is?
Bring it into the question. Come on.
That's what I'm trying to do. If you don't want me to ask a question, I'll sit down.
No, I want you to ask a question.
Well, then allow me to build up. The last chapter, they had 20 minutes. At least give me the courtesy of building up my question, sir. Because I've relayed it back, if I can go on, to the background to the full council meeting of previous years, and I've said nothing's happened. And what's happened recently, the reason for me for saying that is you should be ringing alarm bells, absolute alarm bells with Kirklees Council, because if anything, what's happening in Kirklees Council is 10 times worse than what's happening in Yorkshire County Cricket Club. So my question partly is, what are you doing about it? Have you already instigated some kind of a panel to deal with it, an emergency section of the cabinet or something like that to deal with it? Because to me, and I can evidence everything, Mr. Chairman, there seems to be nothing happening. And the community, especially the minority communities, are suffering. When I did come, the response given by the leader at the time was something like, look around you and there's members of the BAME community on the, the cabinet, as it were. But look, again, I hasten to use the example of Yorkshire County Cricket. One of the excuses given by that club was that the Azim Rafiq's PDA, personal development assistant, was someone of colour, but that didn't help him, did it? So that's not a good enough excuse. You need to be doing something about that, and urgently, because one of the other significant things about the other example I'm giving is that led to suicidal thoughts. And I can give you, and I'm sure people here who are on some similar email chains that I'm on will have read suicidal thoughts emerging from the people of colour being handled by Kirklees Council. Something needs to be done urgently. Yeah, it's a problem with the Yorkshire County Cricket Club. The reason that became flowing is because of the threat from potential sponsors and the taking away of liberties in terms of hosting a test ground. Well, we don't want to be doing the same thing in terms of withdrawing our community charge funds or going to the governance, which is the central government. So, is the council doing anything about it? Has it done anything about it, either as a response or during the last 2 years? I thank you, Chair.
Do you want to reply to that, Councillor Pando?
Thank you, Hasan, for your question. And Mr. Mayor, I just want to reflect on the allegations that was made against me. There is a very clear process from the previous person who actually spoke. I didn't say anything, but I think it's good to actually put records straight because they both come together. For the record, if anybody feels that they are not being treated, they can make a complaint. So I refer back to Mr. Daji's comments earlier on. I don't want to go into the details about the emails, but if anybody read them emails, they would actually put a counter-complaint in. And one thing I will not tolerate is any member, especially women, the way they are treated in this council chamber or elsewhere. And Mr. Daji, you just need to reflect on your words. We listen to you carefully, and you need to make sure that your word and your comments are tempered. Moving on to the question that Hasan has raised. Hasan, you did come to this council meeting, and one of the things we've learned over the years is there is institutional racism everywhere. And one of the things that we have done is on the back of the murder of George Floyd, this council took immediate action. I didn't do what other people did across the country and nationally by actually going to Twitter. I actually reflected and I actually pondered and I actually said, what is the problem here? And first thing we did was to develop an action plan. Because one thing I do not want to do is any of our employees, be they from a BME community, be they from an LGBT community, be they disabled, or be they any other categorized group, I don't want them to feel uncomfortable. And sometimes when we conduct our debates in the council chamber, we have to understand that we are being watched. We are being watched by other politicians. We are being watched by our staff, and we are being watched by the public. And if responsible people who allege to represent people outside, they also need to understand that what they say could actually fuel hatred, yeah, and we can actually go backwards. The kind of actions we put in straight away was to develop our BME networks. The networks we have developed is to actually speed up the process in terms of personal development, management training, apprenticeships. We've also worked with the Black and African Caribbean community. We've also developed an inclusion commission. And only last week, Mr. Mayor, we were shortlisted for a European Diversity Award. Not one, but two. And one of them was on the IMWS Executive Committee a few years ago, Mr. Sajid Mayat, who actually is the HR champion to tackle inclusion, diversity and equalities. And that, you might say, well, what's the point of going for awards? Unless we sing our own praises, we get the kind of comments Hasan quite rightly raised. And I think you just need to look at what we have been doing. Because the European Diversity Awards are not just given willy-nilly. We have to go through a number of checks and balances and evidence. And we have to sing out more loudly. We have to take responsibility as councillors, as community representatives, because there is a spiral of hatred that is developing not just here, but nationally and internationally. In terms of what we are doing, yeah, we are actually putting where our words, where our mouth is. We are developing an inclusion commission, and I'm glad that, through working on a cross-party basis, we are going to move forward. It might not be called the inclusion commission, but at least there is cross-party agreement that is a problem here. It's not just a problem around BME community, it's a problem for every single specialist categorized group that we need to actually address. If you come to a future council meeting, Hasan, in January, we are going to bring back an annual report. In there, it will detail every single detail what we have been doing. It will detail what we are doing in terms of inclusion and diversity, because one of the things I will not tolerate is A, if there's any evidence that you can show me, I will make sure that I will look at it. But B, perceptions. And I think you're a learned man, yeah? And you need to tackle them perceptions as well. What's happening around us is not good. But I know, and I can be proud to say that we in Kirklees Council are hitting the issues head on, and we will not hide, and we will not pass our responsibility on anybody else. But we have to temper what we say, not just as councillors, but also as community representatives. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Pandor. Do you have one supplementary question? Thank you.
Thank you for that opportunity, Chair. Shabir, I'm very happy to give compliments where it's due. I've got no problem. And I commend the council, as I did at the last meeting a couple of years ago, on what it did when it presented that report. But I'm sorry, it misses the point. My point is not about diversity and inclusion. My point is specifically about institutional racism. One of the things I ask for is training, proper training to officers as well as the councillors to find out exactly what it means, because I'm convinced most of the people don't. I said that loudly at the last meeting, and in terms of evidence I've observed in my time, I still don't think that's happened. So it's about institutional racism. It's the kind of thing, I shouldn't have to tell you, Sabir, because you're also a learned man. It's the kind of things that happens when a lot of people don't even realize that's it's happening. But the impact is if I might finish, the impact is it can cause people to think about taking their lives. I don't need to give you specific examples because you've been on a lot of the email chains, but even referring back to Azim Rafiq, it can cause suicide. Please, for goodness sake, start listening. None of this mamby-pamby.
Can we have a question, please? Question. Can you turn it into a question, please?
Please start. It's not exactly a question, to be fair. But will you start listening to my concerns, and echoed by lots of other people, about institutional racism and the potential threat it has for people's lives, not to mention health and safety and welfare?
Thank you. Councillor Pandor.
I will make sure that you get our annual report that is being drafted at the moment. This council will be debating exactly the points you are talking about, and in there it will show you exactly how we are addressing the issues you raised. And if I stand here and say that, no, we've got it right, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that we have moved a long way. And you, Hasan, know that we have moved a long way. And the examples I've gave you earlier on, the awards that we've had, they don't just give them for something and nothing. So I have to disagree with you, Hassan. There's a long way to go, but I think you're being unreasonable by actually just talking about one particular issue. It's a broad issue that we need to tackle in society. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you both. That was interesting.
Thank you,
Chair. Next questioner. Greg Christophe. Welcome to the meeting.
This risk is demonstrated by an incident which occurred in the alleyway on the 26th of May 21, whereby a council driver crashed into a parked vehicle and damaged property, leading to thousands of pounds worth of damage. How will the risk be mitigated?
Sorry?
How will the risk be mitigated?
It was 160 million. An investment programme which has fairly shared the money across the district.
Normal working year, so we have in effect a series of one-year plans.
If there isn't a positive role model, so all of this stuff, you know, it's really relevant to me. My view is it's fairly similar to health in that the key to this is early intervention, and I agree with that.
Told that as that's the key parts of this going in, there could be something like 38 weeks of destructive pressure there will be when you're doing this amount of work. The impact will be...
Well, it's going to go there. We can just accept the report and scrutiny and look at it.
We are attending the site. We're not finding the litter, as this has already been collected.
In terms of applications, but I'm just wondering how much, and are there dedicated staff actually working on putting in awards? Are there
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Kendrick. Thank you, Matt.
Thank
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Comment on the question. The agenda for yesterday's cabinet meeting was over 88 centimetres thick, 3¼ inches for people in Monmouth. That was made available to most of us 7 days ago, 8 days ago, and it's exceptionally difficult.
Yeah, all the information. But then at the same time, you know, we have to get decisions made, and there's a trade-off. So I don't want to preempt anything in terms of what happens in the future regarding the committee system. But whatever we do, one of the main priorities for me is to make sure that we deliver for the residents of Kirklees. It doesn't matter who you are, where you live, what background you come from. We need to make sure that is my priority, and that is what I will always put forward. And ever since I became a councillor and then a cabinet member, deputy and then leader, what I've always said is I will engage.
Of colour being handled by Kirklees Council. Something needs to be done urgently. Yeah, it's a problem with the Yorkshire County Cricket Club. The reason that became flowing is because of the threat from potential...
Or in fact net carbon. It's already been emitted, it's just drawn into the scope of the study because we're improving the flow, so we assume that vehicles from side roads...
That's in Table 5, the carbon summary, that forecast savings from tree planting are far outweighed by emissions from construction plus operation of 42,521 tonnes. So the conclusion is not for a